you say that?
Close this down. You pay right. It's on. It should be on there. I had to close down the Google. What's going on now? Everyone's been put into quarantine. I know, it's ridiculous. My daughter's been back and forth.
It's not going to happen.
It's very frustrating.
Everyone's lockdown.
Says the Mishnah, says new pay. We're discussing now Ruvei Tchumen. What's Ruvei Tchumen? Very good. So Meniachis Achavis, we put a bowl in olden days, look at Tesos. Everything they used to do, they used to leave in a bowl. That was like nowadays a container, a bowl. You take a bowl, it's for everybody in my whole town. Can you imagine? I say, Jonas. How can you do that? Anybody wants to go to Navelos or Beis Hamishra to Chasta. Anybody in the town who says, yes, before Shabbos came in, I want to use that Ruvei Tchumen, mutter. If somebody says, yes, I want to join in there with Tchumen, he only decides that once it's Nacht, also. Nice straightforward Mishnah, yes. So you could do it for other people, but they have to decide. You've got to opt in. Very good. Oh, that's a good English word. Opt in. Says the Gemara, Omar Rabbi Yosef, Ein ma'avner advar mitzvah. Can only do a Ruvei Tchumen for advar mitzvah. Now we pass like this actually. And I was actually quite bothered. There's a few heterim though you have to be aware. Mishabur says that if you did the Ruvei Tchumen not for advar mitzvah, it also works. Furthermore, if you did it for advar mitzvah, then you can carry on. Very good, Bo. No, let's for example, you've got a chasna. So you go for but then afterwards you fancy go for a walk. So that's two heterim. One is, but it's not for advar mitzvah. And also, once you've done it for mitzvah, you can do it for another mitzvah. And a third tremendous heter is a kamat. Everything is advar mitzvah. Visiting your friend, saying hello to your friend. Going for a walk is advar mitzvah. Next Shabbos. I'm not exactly sure what's not advar mitzvah. I tell you what the Mishabur does say is not advar mitzvah. Oh, you know what the Mishabur says? Mishabur huge avichas, very completely in the middle of the Tchumen. That if it's a simcha which is mixed, that even if it's a chasna, and it's not a advar mitzvah, and oy vavoy if you go there, and then it's not anyway. Always says if it's.
So you don't make a bracha outside this.
Anyway, okay. But in my so we pass it in advar mitzvah. Fade the Gemara. My kamash malom tanina is before Mishnah. Mishnah says so. The Mishnah uses two examples, and both of them are mitzvah. You might have thought the Mishnah is just giving you a normal example. Kamash malom. There's no what's breva, retroactive designation. Oh, there's no breva. Why is there no breva? Because if it would be breva, let me decide after Shabbos.
You could do two, and then you can just decide.
Interesting slot. We're not discussing a case where he knew there was a Ruvei Tchumen. He only decided after Shabbos. We're discussing a case where he never even knew there was a Ruvei Tchumen. And when the Mishnah says that you have to opt in, it doesn't mean that you have to opt in to the actual Eruv, but you have to be aware of the Eruv. Why do you have to be aware of the Eruv? So here Rashi got to Shikul Avichos. That the point is like this, that when a person doesn't know, then you can't say retroactively he designated that the Eruv should be for this direction, because he didn't even know there was an Eruv to be designated. When can you say retroactive designation is like this? You know there was an Eruv, you just never decided if you want to use it or not. If you didn't know there was an Eruv, you can't say earlier in the day I decided that the Eruv that there was should be if I want to use it. Because you didn't.
Because it always goes from. Always goes from.
No, I mean like this. That when the Mishnah says that you have to opt in, because Mishnah doesn't mean that you have to decide before Shabbos comes in. You got to be aware of it. Very good. You got to be aware before Shabbos came in that there's an Eruv. That's right. Oh no. So that's interesting. Then it's a machlokas. If yesh beir or ain't beir, we pass it to upon and yesh beir say it does work. We would work. So if you know there was an Eruv, then it does work. Omar Ravasi. Katan ben sheish yitz beir imo. This important halacha Shavuot says you see many people being nichshal in this. Whole halacha. That people think that if you make an Eruv Tchumen, so I can join in. No. You have to do it for me. I have to own part of the food. Now, what happens if you've got children? Comes along a Rasi and says, up to the age of 6, they don't have to make the part of it. Oh, we'll see. This is the Gemara. This is the Gemara. You have to do it. No, even if you stay together. No, we'll see. Okay, we'll see afterwards. You'll pass him. Afterwards, you'll go and give him Malchus to be choishes. No. Again, it's actually a shikol kabbalah. Okay, let's keep cheshbon. Meisvei. Cotton shetzorich the imo yotzebev imo v'shein tzorich the imo yotzebev imo. Ravasi just gave an age. He never gave a category. He gave an age, 6. By the way, most of the Rishonim, all the Rishonim, with the exception of the Eiruvin, say that when the Gemara says 6 over here, how old does it mean? No, sorry, 5.
Why?
Right, the Torah always does it. When did you get married? At 17, right? When means when you get into 18th year. One of my children at his 17th birthday, Rob came up to him and was happy to know. I said, I hope you're getting married this summer. You got a chiv to get married. That's his pshat, by the way.
The bar mitzvah doesn't 12,
I know, that's the exception. It doesn't say bar mitzvah there. But the shloshis are here. I don't know actually. Mitzvahs, getting ready for mitzvahs. It's clear many times whenever we talk about it, we've always been in. For example, Keves ben Shnosoi. How old does the sheep have to be? Within its first year. Right. Again, so most students say over here that a child up to the age of 5 is included to think 5 in one day. But once he's 6, it's too late. Now, Asi only gave an age. He never gave a category. The Brisa gives a category. Brisa says, depends if it means his mother. So far, is it a kasha of Asi? No. Why is it not a kasha? Because it could be that the age of 5 is when a person still needs his mother. After that, not. The kasha is that we'll see not like that. Child doesn't need his mother. If he is able to go to the bathroom without his mother wiping him, that's considered old enough to go to the sukkah. When he wakes up, doesn't call his mother. Everybody calls the mother. Everybody when they wake up, even a 10-year-old or 15-year-old might say, Mommy, where are you? He doesn't keep calling his mother until she comes. That means if he calls his mother and she doesn't come, he'll eventually stop. A child of that age will not stop and will constantly call the mother until the mother comes. Will not stop crying until the mother comes.
Not just once.
Not just once. Very good. Not just once. Not even just twice. It's constantly until the mother comes. And how old is that? And now we have a stira. What's the stira? Let's build the stira carefully. Ravasi said up to the age of 6. Comes along the Brisa and says as long as you need the mother. And then we have another mission that says another Gemara that what's considered needing your mother 4, 5. So you see they need your mother at a much lower. That means you stop needing your mother at a much younger age. So why did the Ravasi say that till the age of 6 you can include it in the?
If 6 means 5, it's not such a
No, because the Kabbalah of Chabesh means 3 and 4.
Because it always gets.
Because yes. Says the Gemara like this. So we've got a stira. Is it clear the stira? That means the Rasi said 6. The Brisa says when he needs the mother. What? And it's coming earlier. Top of Pei base on with base. Oma Rabbi Shua V'Ravidi. Kikama Rasi going Shivul of something Minotov. It's a completely different story. We're not discussing a situation where there was no food set aside for the child. There was. That means the mother made an Eiruvin. Let's say she used 2 eggs. We said once 2 eggs is good enough. And she put another 2 eggs for the child. But the father also did in another direction. So, nevertheless, of course, the child doesn't need his mother today once he's 6, once he's 5. But the fact is, he still prefers his mother's company to his father's company. We choose for him. We choose for him. We'll see about the child choosing later. We choose for him.
Surely he should be able to choose.
The answer is the child never said anything. The child might not even be aware that the parents did it for him. Might not be aware. No, we're not discussing whether it wasn't. We never asked the child. What happened was the father did it one day again. So it comes out like this: if the mother did it without the father, how? And she never set aside extra food for him. Till what age does it work? 4, 5. 4, 5, 3 or 4. If she set aside for him and the father set aside for him,
And what age?
so at the age of 6, it goes after the mother. But after that, it could go after the father, and then we wouldn't know which one she could choose. She could be in a picker. We'll see. What says. So what says, basically, cottage circle imo, yoitze be'er imo, bekamo ad ben sheish, up to the age of 6. To Yuvta Dav Shabareti, to Yuvta. It's a kasha Yuvta Dav Shabareti, because he said, not like that. He used to be talking about it's a shared Eruv. And this bias is specifically talking about not a shared Eruv, not a double Eruv. We talk about only one Eruv. And you see that it goes according to the mother. So Gemara says, "Limit have Yuvta Dav Asi." There's a kasha on Rasi as well, because it says ad ben sheish, and he said 6. It's still and into included, and therefore up to 6 is exactly the same as me. Because they said 4, 5, and he said not 4, 5. He said 6. It depends when the father is in town or not. Meaning like this: when the father is in town, then what happens is the child does not need the mother at a younger age because he's got the father. When the child does not have a father, then what happens is he needs his mother for longer. So therefore, up to the age 4, 5, when we said by sukkah that he doesn't need his mother, is because he's got his father. When he doesn't have a father, for example, it makes an afternoon. Let's say a father does not sleep in the sukkah. He can't sleep in the sukkah, either because he's not alive, he's yosin, or because the father is gone. The child, the person would say a child, therefore, is part of him sleeping in the sukkah for a longer age, because even if he doesn't need his mother, that's when he's got his father around. When he doesn't have his father or his mother, he needs his mother for longer. So the mice like this, it comes out it's quite complicated as to what is the halacha. There are 2 different kinds of shilas over here. Shilah number 1, when the mother provides for the child and part of them she gives extra ruvi. And shilah number 2 is when she doesn't. When she doesn't, it's very limited, only up to the age of 4 or 5, and that's it. And the Shavuot talks about it. Is it 4? Is it 5? It depends on the child's, what's the word for it, development. When the mother does give for the child, the Mishnah Berurah passes that calls man that he prefers his mother's company, so then it always goes after the mother, and he says usually that's all the way to bar mitzvah. From the age of 6 to bar mitzvah, a child always prefers it. Once gets older, he prefers his father's company. So the Rabbana. A person can make an Eruv through his son and child. That means he doesn't need to ask them, he just makes it for them, and he does not need to get their permission. You can't make an Eruv for your wife unless your wife is happy to join into Eruv. If she doesn't want to, she doesn't. Only if they give permission. There's vishus is like his vishus. What happens if they made one Eruv and he made a different Eruv? Till now we're talking about that you're allowed to do it with the permission, without the permission. Now what happens if they actually went and made another Eruv in another different direction? You go according to the Rebbe. That means by a little child, if he makes an Eruv in one direction, the father makes an Eruv in another direction, you go after the father. The exception being an Isha. Because a woman can protest. Isha Maishno. Why only a woman? What about the big child? Evet Ivri? No, not Evet Knani, not. But what about Evet Ivri? Someone says, so it comes out like this. The Bible is a bit of a strange like this. A little child, an Evet Knani, always goes according to the Rebbe. Even the Rebbe can choose whether the child wants or doesn't want. A big child, or an Evet Ivri, or a wife, you have to ask their permission. If they make their own Eruv, so then, by an Evet Kanani and by a little child, you go after the father. By an Evet Ivri and a wife and a big child, you go after the big child, not after the Rebbe. Oh, so that's a shayla. What do we call over here?
Big child.
A big child. So that's got to the Gemara in what is it? In Kedushin. There's a non-Kedushin. Oh, sorry, I'm going to say as well. Right, so we pass because Godel Shulchan Aruch is a cotton. That's what we pass. And there's a shitta that says Godel is somebody who's already 13. But says the Gemara, Omama, because she can protest. Only if she actually protests. If she doesn't protest, let's say that she doesn't say anything, she goes after the husband. The Reisha says you actually have to ask them permission. My love to Omri En. That you have to get their permission. It says, well, look, that with the vices they have to get their permission. As long as they keep quiet, that's good enough. So when we say that the husband has to get his wife's permission to make an Eruv, it doesn't mean that she has to say, yes, I want it, as long as she doesn't protest. But if she keeps quiet, we assume that she's happy with her husband's Eruv. That means if you make an Eruv in one direction and the wife makes an Eruv in another direction, what happens? You go after the wife. Now, she never protested. She never said anything against the Eruv. Says, well, once they protest, that her actions is the biggest protest. So the mice, if a man makes an Eruv for his wife, as long as she doesn't protest or make another Eruv, she goes after him. But the Shmuel says, this is what the Halacha says, is that you have to make sure you've got, that's why people use like a pot of jam or something, which has got enough food for a lot of people. Why? Because you only use jam for, you only use a small amount of jam on the Shabbos. If you were to use eggs, you have to use 2 eggs per person. It would be quite. So
did he do on the video or not?
I don't know if you had kavanah to be mechal for everybody.
He was fine anyway. He arranged it. What about your siblings?
As you have to do it al das be magnet for the siblings.
Well,
Well, it's too late.
too late,
But for future, you have to magnet. Which was very much you have to back. We said I'm going to get to the Mishnah. I thought it would take longer. Do you prefer? Are you okay if we stop, or you feel that it was too short?
Either way.
I think we're in a rush.
Okay, so stop.
Be a bit more relaxing.
Yeah. Okay. It's actually also. It's better to start with the Mishnah. Okay. I appreciate that he set up the computer a bit.